Here with me now for further perspective, former Deputy Commander of U.S. European Command, retired Air Force General Charles Wald. General, always good to see you. So we just heard there from Robert and Kelly, the U.S. and Iran exchanging new attacks. The president says that ceasefire is over. Where do things stand in this war from your perspective?
Well, I mean, it's like we've been talking about often. The ceasefire is only as good as people that live up to it. The ceasefire has been broken several times. It's kind of like Lucy in the football. We keep going back and saying, okay, we'll try again. My estimation is the ceasefire is totally over. It's broken. I think what CENTCOM has been directed to do and take out military targets in Iran are exactly the right thing to do, and they should continue to do that until we can have some kind of verification or at least some kind of confidence that Iran is not going to threaten our allies primarily in the region and also shipping. So I would call the ceasefire over.
So just last night, the president told reporters Iran had called to make a deal with the U.S. Now, keeping in mind, of course, these recent attacks and responses mirror a similar exchange that happened in late June. Do you think either side, General, is demonstrating they are committed to reaching a final deal?
I think, again, I'm biased, obviously, but I think the United States has shown a unbelievable amount of tolerance and willingness to negotiate and try to come to an end state. It's no secret that Iran continues to break these agreements. I think, as far as I'm concerned, right now we need to take out as much military capacity as we can for the Iranians, both land-based as well as along the coast of the Strait of Hormuz. If I were advising the president, I'd say I would not stop this until the Iranians ask for a ceasefire, not a ceasefire, but a stoppage of the attack. I just don't trust them, and I don't think we should.
So, General, what do you think happens next here? And do you think this latest back and forth, what do you think it means for the Strait of Hormuz? Because we already saw an overnight increase in the average price of gas here in the U.S.
Yeah, again, I can't speak for the U.S. consumer, but I think that the gas prices under $4 or whatever it is right now is acceptable. I would recommend to the president we don't stop now until we have a high level of confidence that Iran does not have the ability to threaten our allies or the U.S. Troops and forces in the Middle East, as well as the shipping in the Straits of Hormuz. I would recommend we continue down that path until our intelligence gives us the assurance that the Iranians can't do this attack anymore. I'd go after their missiles. I'd go after their air defense. I'd go after their missile production. I'd go after their command and control. And I would consider now closing down Kharg Island. I'm not a big fan of putting troops on the ground right now.
Wow, okay. And last question for you. I want to ask you about something that Kelly touched on at the end of her report there. President Trump just returned from that NATO summit in Turkey. He flew back on the old Air Force One, not the new Qatari gifted jet he had arrived in. This morning, we learned the decision was made due to guidance from the Secret Service. General, what do you make of that swap and then the potential threat level, not only to the president, but to the reporters, to the staffers? There are so many other people who travel on that plane.
I don't know for sure, but my guess would be that the Air Force One, the older one that he flew on, has state-of-the-art, sophisticated countermeasures for both missile defense and other defenses. And the new one is probably hasn't been tested, if it even is outfitted yet. So I would think it's a matter of self-defense. The Air Force One has fantastic self-defense, and I'm not sure what the new Qatari aircraft has.
Retired Air Force General Charles Wald, thank you as always.
Good to see you, Nicole.